Now, while many people try to adjust to the rainy season by taking preventive measures, some conditions are just unavoidable. While it's not just farmers that should be especially concerned about the pattern of the oncoming rains, persons whose houses are below the sea level should also be concerned because of flood. This is why governmental bodies charged with monitoring annual rainfall patterns must be alert or be on the alert on necessary steps to manage flood outcomes. So what should we be expecting this year, and how can we best prevent some of the predicated effects of the coming rains? Joining me to answer these questions and more is MD CEO at Mac Press WA Limited and also an environmentalist, Ido Salau. Thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thank you for having me.
So let me start by asking you the question I posed a little earlier. What should we be expecting this year?
If you look at the prediction that came from NIMET, said we should be expecting normal and near normal rainfall this year.
Yeah.
And it gives us that prediction for us to be able to plan. And that's one of the responsibility of government. And those that are responsible for giving this have said their own. Now, the underlying effect of it is this. The pattern shows that we may have in the south early rain, maybe as early as February, but don't forget we recorded the first rain in January. So as early as February. Then the season period, September in the south, towards December in the north. And the number of what we expect in terms of the rain pattern for the south for planting season, that's where the food security advantage of the rain comes from, between 250 to 300 number of days.
Yeah.
Then that of the north, between 100 and 200 number of days. Now, the advantage or the advantages of this is that we may have lengthy farming period.
Yeah.
But if you look at the pattern of this year rain, it comes with a lot of storm, high wind. Even the one that rained this morning. I witnessed in Surulere area, the kind of windy system that comes before the rain is something that we should be worried about. And that's where the safety of life and property should be our primary concern this time around. The pattern is changing. Apart from the windy, then every intense of the rain. And look at the prediction that we may be having between 390 millimeter to 2,179 millimeter in the south. Yeah. Then the north, between 300 and maybe 1,100 millimeter. That's the quantum, the quantity of rainfall that we're expecting.
So meaning it's more than likely going to be flooding.
Yes, the flood aspect is part of the disadvantage. But sometimes we take advantage of the flood in terms of when you have flood, it moves straight to the city collector and straight to our river body. And if you have high quantity of water in river body, you are more to likely generate more electricity. Okay. Then the farmers too can do irrigation. So these are things. But why I'm worried is this stormy nature of this year rain pattern.
Well, this is something that has to do with nature. It's not something that we can control directly.
But we can do a lot of preventive measures.
What do you think is even responsible for this stormy weather?
We talk climate change. It's real. That's where we have to start preventing we have to now go into infrastructure development of maybe planting trees in the cities as windbreaker. You understand? Then if the flood is too much, then we need to start doing water conservation infrastructure, so that where there is no water in the arid, semi-arid and arid area, we can now move water from area that is more with water and take it to where there's no water. So we can be using water conservation. Then at the same time, building of dams, city gate, all these are water infrastructure. And I give you an example of some states that are already preparing. Lagos State is trying their best. Oyo, Ogun, right now they are doing a lot of dredging activities to widen the natural drainage channel in their state through federal government participation, NEOMAP, and the state government and World Bank. Just very near you here at Okparo River in Isheri Riverview, dredging is going on. Then Alagbole in Akute, dredging is going on there to widen the drainage channel so that the collection, if you widen the collector, most of the river, the flooding will have a place to go, and it will reduce the devastating effect of flooding. So these are one of the things that I see the government now are doing to reduce the impact of the heavy rain within the state.
You mentioned climate change, and this is one word that has been bandied around, across the, divides when it comes to the media. Talk about radio, TV, newspaper, etc., etc. But then it's still more like Greek when you mention that word climate change to a lot of people. So help us understand what this concept really means for those that are watching, and how we are contributing to whatever it is that we are doing that is causing negative effect on us.
Rainfall comes from evaporation when we have excessive water condensation in the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And it brings about some effect that whereby water will now start coming down due to condensation of water from the atmosphere. Now, the windy nature from the sea rise, and all this are part of what we are expecting as climate change that may cause flooding. Because if you have sea rise due to high temperature, the ice are melting. So the water body of the sea continuing to rise. When you have heavy rainfall in the city, there is going to be backflow. Instead of the water from the city flooding activity to go to the river, it's now starting to have backflowing. And that's one of the effects of climate change on flooding, and when you have heavy rainfall. So when the rainfall is heavy, the quantity is heavier than what the river can assimilate, then becomes river flooding. Then you have coastal flooding, and you have the urban flooding. So these are the kind of things that climate change brings about. And that's why we always tell people, the government, we should plan against the natural disaster that may occur, or disaster that may occur from this climate change effect. You
made an allusion to what NIMET reported. In its 2022 seasonal climate prediction, they said the weather agency indicated that February 28 as the earliest onset of planting season.
Yes.
So how favorable has it been for the farmers?
Yes, very favorable. So we allow them to plan. So, and again, it shows that if between February and April that we have for the south, then you can start your planting period. Then for the north central, we have between April and May, so that your planting period, then don't forget, the north central has a little bit of something to worry about in terms of cessation, which we call August break. Okay. So it might be lengthy a little bit. Our August break this time might be lengthy a little bit, so that maybe we may have a little bit of shortage of maybe foodstuff coming from that area if care is not taken. So prediction will give them the opportunity that we should do a lot of irrigation activity in that area, conserving water in that area, and that's what the prediction is, to allow you to plan ahead. So the north, apart from the fact that they may have late season of rain, it might be of advantage just for the north, because once you have the lengthiest period of rain in that area, that means more food will be able to come out from the area. So that is just what the prediction is all about, to allow us to plan either one, agricultural activities, two, the Genco, the electricity, they'll be able to maybe know the quantity what their dam can conserve, so that when they have a lot of water that they can use to generate electricity through the hydroelectricity form. So we may be lucky.
The Genco that you mentioned, there is a lot of thoughts that reflections that I try to do over this. During the heat season, heat wave, we've got heat wave recently, you don't have enough lights to power your fan and all that to at least soften the weather. But when there is rain, when you don't even need the fan to be running or the AC to be running, that's when you have enough electricity. Is there something that can be done, when you have lots of flooding, for them to conserve it so that when you need the power itself, it's there over the night?
Yeah. So let me give you a scenario. Thank God I'm an environmental consultant, and at the same time, who can talk about generation of electricity through another forms.
Okay.
Why is the federal government depending only on hydro and gas? Why? We have other forms of electricity that we can generate. We can generate our electricity from waste. Olusosun there can give us energy through the waste that have been done for years there. We can use solar. We can use wind. So these are where people are now. Where the other climb, the country in other climb, where they are going. They use multi-facet approach to generate their electricity. And the problem is that during the rainy season, we're supposed to have high electricity high generation from the hydro. But unfortunately, the reverse is the case. They might generate what of distribution.
Okay.
That's where another problem is. If you don't have power to store, and you cannot generate and just leave it like that. You must use it. So that's one. Two, the issue of energy conservation is very important too. Okay. Because we see some people, they just use the energy when it's not necessary, they just leave it on. So if you are able to know how to conserve our energy, then we should be able to, maybe that energy is being used by other means. But the most important is that we should look into other means of why will the state government be powering street lights with generator and diesel. Now, what happened to that system now? Lagos State said they were using 1 billion naira monthly to generate to power street light. The same thing in Oyo. Does that make sense? Where is the continuity in terms of economic? When we look at the economic impact, where is the continuity? Because one, now diesel is on the high side. Can you be running diesel 100 kVA generator to power street light when you can convert Olusosun, the dump site, to be generating nothing less than 30 to 40 megawatt of electricity? You have the free gas. The money that you use in buying the diesel, use it to do the waste to energy in Olusosun and other dump sites nationwide. And that take care of the money you spend on using diesel to power street light. It doesn't make sense to me. And we have the technology. It's no rocket science in it.
We've also got solar power.
Solar power. Yeah, look at Surulere. Most of the Surulere, because our speaker has done magic in Surulere. Most of the inner road in Surulere are powered by solar. You will not believe it, how bright those solar energy is. And that has taken off Surulere from off national grid in the night.
Right. Let's get back to talking about the rainy season and then looking at the ocean and sea level in the country and some of the impacts, some of the things that we do to affect the lives that are present there. So what would you say as we get to this? Now the rains are coming, the ocean, sea levels, and our activities around these waters. Are there some things that we need to take cognizance of?
I give you an example. When it rains, I told you that the advantages and the disadvantages. Yes. When it rains, and don't forget, we don't have too much environmental adherence to environmental standard in this part of the world, whereby we have a lot of wastewater pollution, we have a lot of solid waste polluting our environment. All these pollutants go directly into our ocean, and they affect the ocean life or the marine life. Yeah. Seriously, they impacted it, because the more pollutants you have in our water, the more the effect is felt in the marine life of our ocean. So that is one of it, that if you have heavy rainfall and you have flooding, most of the cities that are not clean, that have problem of pollution, the effect will be felt in the marine and ocean water.
Let's look at what is happening in another African country. More than 2.6 million people are facing water shortages due to severe drought conditions in Somalia, so much so that whenever they see a truck coming over, they felt that it's an aid that is coming to them, but then all the aids are now focused on the Ukraine-Russia war situation there. does it appear that this could spill to other countries such as ours?
It's possible. It's part of the effect of climate change. When you have drought, desertification, flooding, carbon emission. You know, these are one of the effects of climate change too. But what those claims supposed to do is to start harvesting water from the region that they have heavy rainfall and do a lot of piping work. These are highly intensive and very expensive infrastructure to do, but life must continue. We must be able to move water from where we have water to where there is no water. And because life are there, and we must be able to prevent loss of life. And that's one of the paramount reasons why governments are in power, protect life and property. Now, and again, it reduces crime and criminality. Those people in that area where there is famine, they tend to come back to the city with arms for survival. And that's what is happening in the Lake Chad. When Lake Chad's area is now being basin. Strings, maybe 1/10 of it has been is gone. Yeah. So now people from Lake Chad who are into fishing activities, because their water is gone, due to drought, due to the desertification, now they need a means of survival, and they see you from the south, and that they are taking commodity to other countries. They will lay you on the road and take care of your dispossess you of your wealth. And that's where the issue of Boko Haram that we talk about, and insurgency, how do we suppress it in Nigeria? Just make sure that their source of livelihood is restored. Is restored. If it is water harvesting that you can do to take people back for their normal life, let's do it. So it's not, most of the time, it's not war. Yeah. Not just to buy ammunition and this and that.
Well, don't you also see that one of the disadvantages of the fact that the rainy season, is here, is that those insurgents, the Boko Haram, for instance, that you mentioned, they are from the forest most of the time. They hibernate, they hide in the forest. And when we have more rains, we have more trees, we have more vegetation, and they have enough place to hide. So isn't that also a disadvantage of rainy season?
No, we can't call that.
Vis-a-vis the insecurity situation we have.
I agree with you. But in one way or the other,
nobody can go to the forest to start felling the trees.
If you look at the nature of the Borno, all those northeast areas, some part of it have scanty vegetation, something like that. So we call them the Sahel region, something like that. So the vast nature of land there is what is giving them the advantage. You understand? Not that the forest, but there are some areas to have some forest that. What is the quantity of rain in that area too? That's what you have to look into. So if we don't have enough quantity of rain, so we may not be looking into that as part of the causes of crime and criminality. What we should be looking at is how do we take care of their economic activities, so that when you have work to do, you're making livelihood for your family, immediate family, you will think less of crime.
Right, we're posting home, but I would like to you to weigh in on this data, with this report that from May to August 2022 this year, moderate dry spell persisting for up to 15 days is predicted over parts of Adamawa, Benue, Kogi, Ekiti, Kwara, Niger, FCT, Kaduna, etc. And states like Yobe, Borno, Nassau, and Plateau State may experience a severe dry spell that could persist for up to 20 days or longer in June. So are there some things needed to be done for people to withstand this weather condition?
Yes, it's very simple. The government of those states should start preparing for how to maybe do a kind of releasing from the green reserve. Yes, that's one. Two, they should try to do dry season farming, encourage dry season farming during that period. And that means they must invest in water harvesting that I was telling you about. Because if you save water, you can direct water to wherever they need it. So that's one area, so that it will not have effect on food security. So because when you don't have enough rain, to take care of your produce, of your farming activities, then your produce will be delayed. And that's one thing we have to be worried about, that we should be able to take care of that, being that the prediction has come out, and we must be able to work towards the prediction.
We hope that we'll be able to key into some of the piece of advice that they've actually shared freely on the show this morning. MD CEO at MacPress WA Limited, and also an environmentalist, Ido Salau. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. It's a pleasure.